In today's video, I'm going to be talking about how to lose stubborn fat without losing a lot of muscle. So a lot of people find themselves, a lot of men, particularly over the age of 35 to 40, find themselves trying to lose a lot of body fat, but they end up losing a lot of body weight. They can lose 10, 15, 20 pounds. I see it all the time, but they end up looking very soft and kind of like melted ice cream. All right. That's the analogy that comes to mind. But a lot of times this is very avoidable, and it all has to do with how you set up your training, how you consume your nutrition, and also in terms of recovery. There's a lot of things that play a factor there. So in today's video, I'm going to be breaking that down. Now, I want to also dispel a myth, and this ties into why a lot of men lose a crap ton of muscle during a fat loss phase, and it's their over-reliance on cardio. So there's this idea that a lot of people believe that cardio is the best strategy to burn body fat, okay? Cardio is just a mechanism to burn calories, all right? So when you understand this, it's much easier to understand how it helps you lose muscle, all right? Cardio itself is not going to help you build any muscle. And in fact, if you burn too many calories, it actually makes it easier for you to lose more muscle over time. Another reason a lot of people struggle with accomplishing this correctly is because they use the wrong metrics. They're using their body weight as their primary indicator of whether or not they're making a lot of progress. Now, before I get into the rest of this video, if you don't know me yet, my name is Alan Jaramillo. I own an online fitness company, and we help men drop not only 20, 30, 40 pounds, but we help them maintain the weight loss as well by changing their muscle to fat ratio as well as their body fat set point, okay? It's what we do to create very long-term and sustainable transformations. Now, with that being said, I want to get into the actionable items that you can take from this video and immediately start changing your diet, your training, and your recovery process, so that way you can start retaining muscle mass during your fat loss phase for summer, okay? The first thing that you want to make sure that you do is make sure that you have a weight training program, okay? Now, this is something that all of our clients get. We tell them exactly how many days to work out, how many sets per week they're supposed to do, and we also make sure to give them very detailed instruction on what movements to do. This also has to be customized to your experience level, what you feel comfortable with. Like just yesterday, we had a client join who only wants to do machine-based leg movements. And there's nothing wrong with that. In fact, that's very common for a lot of people to come into our program wanting to make sure that that's something that we can accommodate, because they don't want to do a lot of free weight stuff. They've had a lot of injuries in the past, and they're trying to work around, previous injuries and whatnot. That's just one example, okay? What weight training does, and that being kind of like the cake in this situation, and you can use cardio as like the icing or the sprinkles rather around a cake. But the biggest point that I'm trying to make here is that, when you combine weightlifting with a calorie deficit, you're going to be able to build muscle in the beginning stages, and you're going to be able to retain muscle in the later stages, okay? As opposed to, doing cardio. Cardio is just going to be basically helping you burn calories. And if you have nothing giving your muscles a reason to maintain their growth or at least build muscle, you are going to lose a tremendous amount of muscle mass. Now, let's get into the nutrition side of things. A lot of people try and eat healthy, and that's a huge mistake. When you try and eat healthy, that's not a numerical number, okay? It's not something that you can measure and track and decrease or increase if you need to. Here's an example. Let's say that you hit a fat loss plateau your very first month, and you're only 5 pounds down, and you can't lose any more weight. You can't just say to yourself, I'm going to eat more healthy, right? Like, you are going to look at yourself and be like, what am I doing wrong? Like, I'm already eating healthy. I'm already running a crap ton. Why is my body not seeing any more progress, right? And that's really where we get into the granular side of things and look at macros, okay? So having the proper distribution of macros is ultimately what allows you to maintain the most amount of muscle. Now, when I went through my bodybuilding show, I was 230 pounds to start, and I ended at 170 pounds, okay? If you look at these photos, you can obviously see that it looks like I'm way more muscular on the right photo, but I'm 60 pounds less. The main reason is because I maintained a lot of my muscle mass that I had built over a decade at this point. And the reason I did that is because I had a higher amount of protein than what I needed. So I had 1.2 times my lean body mass in protein, basically the entire fat loss phase. And that's really what we do with a lot of our clients. Protein will also serve as a good way to, keep your appetite in a good place. A lot of times people undereat on protein. It's the most satiating macronutrient that we have. So it makes sense to increase and have more protein during a fat loss phase than if you're building muscle, for example. And a lot of people have that backwards. They think more protein when I'm building muscle. But all that really does is once you get in a certain amount, you're not going to build more muscle, okay? The reason why you have more muscle mass in a fat loss phase is to help to retain more muscle tissue and keep your appetite in a good spot so you don't get too hungry. So those are really key things to mention. Now, the other macronutrients, carbohydrates and fats, are also equally as important, okay? A lot of people, when they're just eating healthy, they have no idea where these numbers stand. And that's why they lose a lot more muscle. And I'll give you an example. If you're under eating on fats because you believe that if I eat fat, I'm going to get fat, which is not true. But let's say that you're under that belief. What's going to happen to you when you undereat on fats is that your testosterone is going to lower because you need fats to keep your hormones healthy. Okay. So as you continue to lower and lower your fat goal and your body fat continues to lower and your muscle mass continues to go down, your testosterone is going to crap out. The other thing that's going to happen is, with carbohydrates, for example, you're not going to have the energy to show up to the gym and hit PRs or at least maintain your strength. So that's another way that you're going to be losing way more muscle than you want during a fat loss phase. The last point that I'm going to make, point number 3, has to do with recovery and sleep. If you're training too frequently, you will run the risk of doing way too much and you will lose muscle mass as a result of it, okay? You have to look at it as a bell curve, okay? Meaning that the more work you do to a certain point will actually start to work against you, which is something that you really want to make sure you avoid. The other thing is a lot of people sleep on sleep, as corny as it sounds. They work so hard in the gym. Maybe they've got the training down. Maybe they've got the macros down, but they are just sleeping less than 6 hours a night. And it might be because they have a busy time at work. It might be because they have really poor sleep habits. They watch Netflix all night. They're addicted to their phones. Like a lot of people are addicted to their phones, right? It makes it incredibly more difficult to get to sleep earlier nowadays. But they've done several studies to show the difference between the results in people who get 8 hours plus a night and people who get less than 6 hours a night. The results are night and day different, okay? Like 50 to 60% better results in terms of muscle retention and your ability to actually drop more body fat than muscle mass is 50 to 60%. I mean, it is crazy how many people don't think that this actually matters, but it really does, and it makes or breaks a lot of people's results. So that concludes this video. If you want to see more videos like this, I do have a fat loss trainings playlist that you can look through if you want more information on how to lose fat properly. And most importantly, keep it off while retaining your muscle mass. That's what we help people do. And if you think that you're ready for that next step for coaching, to be held accountable, have everything done for you in terms of creating the plan, working around your travel schedule, all that stuff. We work with a lot of busy executives and people in sales who travel all the time, have crazy schedules, and we organize it all for them. It's all done for you. You just have to show up to the gym and do the work. Then you can click below, book a call with me, and then we can speak directly on how this program works, how it'll be custom to you, and we can move forward if we feel like we're a right fit. We don't do any high pressure sales, BS, or anything like that. So there's no reason to not show up to a call and at least kind of hear how the process works, okay? Have a great rest of your day. Thanks for showing up to the video.